50th anniversary of the Association of Consulting Engineering in Nigeria, Acen. I will not tell you when we were born. I have my president and other past presidents here. Our eldest past president is also here. So I'll just introduce my president and the past presidents on the high table and hand over the sorry, what's causing that? Hand over the microphone to my president and let him deliver the Golden Jubilee speech of today. I'd like to introduce our Dwarian, Papa Folanyo. He is the eldest past president amongst us, and he's also been one of the past presidents of FIDIC of Africa now. He used to be Gamma and became Gamma of FIDIC and is now FIDIC Africa. That means the Consulting Engineering Association, International Consulting Engineering Association, the world body of which he was one of the founding fathers as well as a past president. On my left, he likes always being on my left, is Engineer Bayo Adeola, FNSC. He is a past president of the Association of Consulting Engineering Nigeria, Acen. He is a past council member. I'm sorry, Papa Folanyo too was a past council member of the international body. Engineer Adeola is a past council member, we call it EC member, of the International Body of Consulting Engineers. As a matter of fact, he was the Secretary General representing Nigeria in the ESCO of what is today FIDIC Africa, and then was Gamma. And he was representing Nigeria, but he was the Secretary General of that body. I am Mayen Adetiba. I'm a past president of the Consulting Engineer, of Association of Consulting Engineering of Nigeria, Acen. And I'm also the chairperson of the Golden Jubilee ceremony. I'm also a past president of FIDIC Africa. I don't want to take too much of your time because I know that you will be asking a lot of questions later. And I have my president who can, the current president who can feed you with just about anything you want to ask. I want to yield the floor to our president, who is Engineer George Okoroma, FNSC, JP, and by the special grace of God, he will be finishing his term at the end of this year. Engineer Okoroma, please take it away.
Thank you very much. Introduced to list the names of past presidents, members of, I would say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm seeing a lady here, with a heart filled with great joy, I want to welcome you all to this 50th Golden Jubilee Press Conference of the Association Consulting Engineering in Nigeria, Acen. I am elated beyond words and at the same time grateful to God Almighty who had made this day to be an memorable day. I will share a bit about our history, our scorecard so far. I will also pinpoint some challenges that are hampering the advancement of engineering consulting business in Nigeria. Then I will give room for questions and answers. Formerly known as the Association of Consulting Engineers in Nigeria, the Association for Consulting Engineering in Nigeria, Acen, is a body of registered, independent, private engineering consulting firms in Nigeria. Formed in 1971 by a team of 12 engineers led by Engineer F.A.O. Phillips of blessed memory. The first meeting for the formation of this great association was held at Island Club, Lagos, on the 7th day of August 1971, with 12 engineers in attendance. At that meeting, Engineer F.A.O. Phillips and late Engineer A.O. Beckley were by consensus appointed ad hoc chairman and secretary respectively. At another meeting for this formation of our association held on the 9th of October 1971, Engineer Beckley has taken ill and Engineer V.O. Oyefodoran started to act as secretary of our association. At this point, I would like to sequentially name one after the other the scepter of leadership of the association from inception. And these are made of impeccable engineers of high repute who have steered the affairs of this association to today that we're marking the 50th anniversary celebration. The names are Engineer F.A.O. Phillips, FNSC, 1971 to 1981. That was the first president of our association. Engineer Obi Obembe, FNSC, 1982 to 1984. Engineer Chief Dr. A.A. Adejomo, FNSC, 1985 to 1988. Engineer Dr. J.O. Tonuga, FNSC, 1994 to 1996. Engineer Dr. Joseph Ibukile Kolanya, FNSC, FANG, 1994 to 1996. He was the 6th president of our station, and he's sitting by my right-hand side. We call him the Doyen of Engineering. irrespective of his age, with the passion he has for the profession, he's here today in this press conference. Next is Engineer A.A. Okunoren, FNSC, 1997 to 1999. His Royal Highness, Engineer M.O. Additional, FNSC, 2000 to 2001. Engineer Yusuf Olaraju Shagaya, FNSC, 2002 to 2003. Engineer Sir Edith James Amana, FNSC, 2004 to 2005. Engineer Mrs. Mayen Adetiba, FNSC, FAH, 2006 to 2007. She was the 11th president of our station, and Engineer Mayen is sitting by my left-hand side, and she is the chairman of the planning committee for this Golden Jubilee. I'll talk more about her in course of my speech. Engineer K.A. Adiola, FNSEFANG, 2008 to 2009. Engineer I.S. Ogumbayo, FNSEFANG, 2010 to 2011. Engineer Nuruddin A. Rafindadi, FNSC, FANG, 2012 to 2013. Engineer Dr. Temilola Kehinde, late FNSC, 2014 to 2015. Engineer Suleiman H. Adamu, FNSC, FANG, 2016 to 2017. Engineer Charles Akinyele Akindayomi, the immediate past president of our station, FNSC, 2018 to 2019. These are the 17 presidents who have served this association from inception to today. Since its inception, the association prides itself as a pool of independent-minded entrepreneurs of highest technical skills, intellectual competence, and ethical orientation, providing top-notch engineering consultancy services to provide the quality and improve the quality of life of Nigerians, and of course being the first point of call for government and the private sector on issues of resident design of products and projects, environmental impact assessment, construction, fabrication, operation, and maintenance, and rehabilitation of a public-private infrastructure. I want to lay emphasis here. Consultant engineers are the ones saddled with the responsibility of providing housing, roads, bridges, superhighways, the rail lines, the airports, the seaports, Name any, and of course electricity and water. Anything that brings about improvement of life, to better life of humanity, consultant engineers have the skills, the knowledge, the competence to deliver on these projects. You need to emphasize, and that no nation can develop without engineering, particularly consultant engineers. Because for you to think about a project, you need to conceive this project. You need somebody to do a study. It's only consultant engineers that have the training, who will use the knowledge that they have acquired to do a study and be able to come up with the parameters for the design of this infrastructure. And of course, they work with specification. That you cannot engage in infrastructure development without seeking the counsel of a consulting engineer. And perhaps the challenges we're facing in the built environment today is because the right people are not consulted. I want to emphasize on this so that we take note of this. Over the past 5 decades, Acen member firms have executed dozens of monumental projects of economic importance in all sectors of the Nigerian economy, while simultaneously serving as a bridge between the possible and ideal amidst challenges. No doubt there are challenges, but the engineers have the answers to some of the challenges if they are consulted. We'd like to mention that the association have relationship with international engineering organizations, both locally and internationally. Nationally, I can maintain excellent relationships with other engineering associations in Nigeria. These includes the Council for Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, where it's important to note today that Acen has a seat in the Council of Korea and plays a very active role in the regulation of engineering in Nigeria. We also have a relation with the Nigerian software engineers and also with other cadres of the profession, the technologists, the technicians, and the craftsmen. Of course, you know that for a successful project, we need both the engineers, the consultant engineers, and all the cadres of the engineering profession to deliver on projects. It's also important to note, we also have relationship with non-engineering organizations. We relate with the Nigerian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, Mines and Agriculture, NACIMA. We also have a relationship with the ICRC, which is the Infrastructure Concession Regulation Commission, and other organizations that are involved in infrastructure development in our country. Internationally, Acen is a member of FIDIC International, which is called Fédération Internationale des Ingénieurs de Conseil, FIDIC, with its headquarters in Geneva. Indeed, Acen applied for registration with FIDIC many years ago, precisely on the 10th of May, we applied for membership of FIDIC, and in the GAM meeting of the 8th of June, 1977, Acen was then admitted in Helsinki, Finland, alongside countries like Hong Kong and Portugal. And that admission, Nigeria became the fourth country in Africa to be so admitted, alongside South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Kenya. Of course, since then, Nigerian engineers, consulting engineers, have been playing very prominent roles and have participated actively in activities of FIDIC by taking leadership roles. When the chairman of this committee on the Golden Jubilee was making her remark, she made very clear that Dr. Joseph Ibukule Folayan was the first Nigerian, the first African to be a member of the executive committee of FIDIC International. And he served between 1988 to 1989, to 1992 actually, 1992. Years after, one of our past presidents too, in fact the 12th president of our station, Engineer Bayo Adiola, FNSC, FAH, also served as a member of the FIDIC Executive Committee. We need to mention this because in the practice of engineering, we are in touch with the best practice. And that is why we attend international conferences organized by FIDIC International, where all consulting engineers across the globe meet to discuss issues bordering on engineering practice and the world. And so our members have played very prominent roles, and they attend most of the conferences, if not all. It's also interesting to know that Acen is a member of the Group of African Member Association of FIDIC, formerly called GAMA, now FIDIC Africa. Just about 3 years ago, we had FIDIC approved that the name GAMA now be changed to FIDIC Africa. But it's interesting to know that the founding members of Acen, we are also very strong founding members of FIDIC Africa. As a matter of fact, the past presidents who are sitting here with me today were those who are the founding fathers and mothers of FIDIC Africa. As a matter of fact, Engineer Mayan Adetiba, FNSC FNH, was the 11th president of FIDIC Africa. And indeed, she's the only female president of Acen to date. And even in FIDIC Africa, she's also the only female president so far to date. And that is something that we need to be proud about. It's also of note, well, I'm not trying to play a trumpet, but obviously she was one of those first, if I'm not mistaken, from Nigeria or from Africa that attended FIDIC International Conference as a delegate, not as a spouse. And this is something that we need also to note. So we're proud that we have produced great engineers who have been past presidents of Acen, who have also played a prominent role in FIDIC International and also FIDIC Africa. Acen has two major official business meetings that we organize yearly since its inception. This is the Extraordinary General Meeting, which is the EGM, and the Annual General Meeting of our session. It also interests you to know that we also have business evenings. Of course, we also have council meetings. which takes place every quarter of the year to oversee the affairs of the association and to ensure that the association grows to render the right services for the people of our country. The EGM of our association is a mid-year gathering of the association to review activities and scorecards of organization for the first quarter of the year. And of course, the annual general meeting is the meeting that is held at the end of the year, where we have annual reports of the association, we look at our successes, our challenges, and perhaps some areas where we may have not done well, and to plan for the years ahead. It will interest us to note that the EGM and the AGM of our association had played host to some high-profile Nigerians, such as our Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibajo, the Honorable Minister of Transport, Chibike Rotimi Amechi, the Honorable Minister of Power, Water and Housing, Mr. Batunde Fachola SAN, the Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, Engineer Dr. Bonea Ono FNSC, FANG, and other great Nigerians who have been part of our meetings. I'd like you to know that before 2007, Acen membership was open to individuals and firms. But since 2007, membership of Acen is strictly for engineering consulting firms only. This is in line with the FIDIC International standards. Currently, our association has a firm membership of over 400. Because of our discussion, it will interest you to know that that is a far cry than what it should be. Take for instance a country like South Africa. They have a population of about 60 million persons. They have well over 600 consulting engineering firms. And Nigeria has a population of over 200 million, and we just have about 400. And so we need to encourage more consulting firms. But when I get into the part of my discussion, I'll tell you the reason why we don't have enough consulting engineers, to do the job that we need to do in our country. As included in the organization's memorandum and article of association, the vision of statement of Acen is to remain the ultimate reference business association of choice for organizations providing professional engineering consultancy services in Nigeria. How do we mean? That if you intend to engage in any infrastructure development, be it roads, highways, electricity, water, airports, seaports, you need to consult the members of the Association for Consulting Engineering in Nigeria. These are the pool of engineers who, I have said earlier, are qualified both by their training and by their international connection with FIDIC International, based on international best practice. In order to increase the visibility of Acen across the country, Nigeria, we have segmented our firms into 7 zones in the country. Of course, we have 6 geopolitical zones, but Acen has 7 zones. And I tell you, zone 1 is Lagos, axis. Zone 2 is the northeast. Zone 3 is the Abuja axis. Zone 4 is the northwest. Zone 5 is the southeast. Zone 6 is the south-south. And Zone 7 is the southwest. These zones have zonal coordinators, and they have been very, very active, organizing business evenings to educate our members. And the essence of these zonal meetings is to upskill, learn, and relearn to improve quality of services to prospective clients. Of course, the clients should be the government of the Federation of Nigeria and, of course, the private organized sectors. So far, we have also created what we call special interest group. This group is to look at various areas of engineering challenges in Nigeria and to make appropriate suggestions to government for improvement of whatever form of infrastructure that may be challenging to our nation. And this interest will cut across the areas I've mentioned before: roads, electricity, water, transportation, construction, rehabilitation, and name it, anything that has to do with infrastructure development in this country. In Acen, we believe in succession, and as such, we are committed to the development of the young engineers in our firms. These young engineers are housed under the umbrella of Future Leaders Forum. Before this time, we used to call them young professionals, but in line with FIDIC International, we call them Future Leaders Forum. And of course, the aim is to prepare and tutor them to carry on the baton of leadership of consulting engineering going into the future. Of course, we know that some of past presidents are getting old. Definitely, we have to prepare the young people who will ensure that they carry the baton of consulting engineering into the future. To bring engineering consulting practice to be a par with international best practice, Acen established the School of Engineering. And I know that during the time of Engineer Adetiba and the rest of the past presidents was when this idea was mooted, and the idea was to ensure that that our engineers measure up with the capacity to deliver. And the only way is by continuing professional development. It will interest you to note that in Acen, we award what we call CPD points to our firm members. This to ensure that they are always active and they are always learning and relearning. Remember that engineering is evolving every day. There are new knowledge that comes every day. And so we need to let our people to learn and to improve for better service delivery. And so Acen School of Engineering is where we provide that platform for training and retraining, both for young engineers and those who are in our firms. Acen also publishes a triannual magazine called The Consulting Engineer, the TCE magazine, which is loaded with engineering articles written by engineers of repute and circulated to member firms, government ministries, department agencies, MDAs, universities, and other corporate entities for knowledge dissemination and advocacy. In fact, when you have the privilege of visiting our website, you will see our website dotted with the magazines which are for your reading pleasure and for knowledge sharing and for updating our colleagues in the industry. So far, while we celebrate the 50th anniversary of our existence as an association, it is worthy of note to put on record that our members have not enjoyed good patronage from the government of our country and the people of Nigeria. I use the word, we have not enjoyed good patronage. And I'm wondering why. The major challenge that we are facing in discharging our duties, our rights as consultant engineers in Nigeria is the government and Nigerians' unrepentant penchant for foreign-made goods and consulting services. This has led to low patronage of the service of consulting engineers in Nigeria, as we now have to compete with contracts with foreign companies in Nigeria. And it shouldn't be so. We need to encourage our consulting firms to take up the responsibility of delivering infrastructure projects for our nation. If we don't support our own, who will support it? We need to put on record here that other nations of the world have developed. They've relied on their people. Mention China. Mention Japan. There was a time that perhaps products from China was not of any significant quality. Absolute control of consulting services. And we'll be able to say that we have competent consulting firms that can deliver when given the opportunity to do so. Indeed, reminiscing on the journey so far, I can tell that we can do far more than we have done if given the opportunity, if given the chance to prove our mental, to prove our capacity. If need be, perhaps we are willing to collaborate with partners or partner with foreign consulting firms in areas where perhaps, I use the word perhaps, that we lack the expertise. But what we are advocating, and that's what we emphasize on, that a situation going to the future where there be a net zero foreign content in engineering consulting contracts award in Nigeria. In fact, I want to say that it's not even talking about Nigerian content. We say there should be zero foreign content as far as consulting is concerned, because we have people who can deliver on these projects. Ladies and gentlemen, sustaining an organization for 50 years is not an easy feat. Wherever we are today, or hope to be in the future, we owe them to all the intellectual ingenuity of the engineers and firm members who have given their best that this association might live. And I want to use the opportunity to especially appreciate our past president who has stood tall to sustain this association. And I say that we, who are the upcoming future leaders of Acen, stand on their shoulders to move this association to where it needs to be. At this juncture, I want to thank all for being here, and I wish all of us at Acen a happy 50th anniversary. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. President. You people are very ready to start shooting. Oh, okay. I'm seeing some hands already. And I know where you are going to. But maybe I won't call you so that you don't go there. Okay. Start with your question. Since we have all of you here, yeah, let's start with you. Uh, the second, okay. Um, Tell us your name, which of the area that you represent, and you now ask your question. Thank you.
Hello, what? Hello, hello, hello.
I can tell you what these questions are.
All right. Should I? Okay. All right. I said my name is Jesu Tomi Akomolafe. I work with the Guardian newspaper. My first question is, as experts in engineering consultancy, what are some of your parameters? What are some of the parameters you would give for high-rise building construction, and also what are some of the possible solutions to curbing building collapse in Nigeria? We've had that recent times, and it's really so many policies and the rest that some government officials are coming up with. So that's one. Number two, in the country, do we really have enough engineering consultancy firm in the country?
Thank you, Joseph Tope, for that question. Um, your question seems to take us to what just happened recently on the 1st of November. Before I make comments on that, I would like to express our heartfelt condolences and sympathies to those who have lost their lives in that unfortunate incident. We also want to express condolences to the government of people of Lagos State for this calamity. For us in the industry, it's something that pains us that such situations should actually take place in our country at this time. The question you're asking, what are the parameters? This, what has happened, no one can give a clear answer for now on what are the issues that probably are led to that collapse. As engineers, what we do is that we do investigations, and then we get data based on our investigation, and then it's only at that point that we can be able to advise or possibly provide solutions. But if simply saying, not particularly reference to that very particular project, for designs, as I mentioned to you, engineers, when you consult us, we need to do a study. So assuming, for instance, you're doing a project in a particular location, it requires that one, you need to do a soil investigation. First of all, location of the site is important, and then you need to check the site conditions by doing soil investigation and what we call geotechnical investigation. And we have experts who will tell you about the type of foundation that you need for a particular soil condition. And that's what we call, when we do our calculation, you talk about parameter. We talk about the bearing capacity of the soil, and based on that, we may recommend whether it's going to be a deep foundation or a shallow foundation. And when we look at deep foundation, depend on how the building is, or the height of the building, or the number of floors. It might be that you may recommend what we call the pile foundation, or if the height is not such that you want to go for those deep foundations, then you can go what we call a raft foundation, as case may be. Minor buildings, we just talk maybe strip foundations. So first and foremost, primarily, is to do a study, and they come up with the parameter you just mentioned, and then that's where the consultant engineer will give you an advice. Of course, at that point in time, in the consulting firms, of course, we have all the disciplines, in domicile in our firms, so from the geotechnical investigation, with the parameters that you get, then of course you now bring the structural engineer who will not be able to use these parameters, gotten from the geotechnical engineer, and then to do the design. So, and then it's only when that has been done. But we want to let you know also that, yes, we do a good design based on the parameter that you get from the investigation we do. And then using our specifications and all that. But also, in the course of execution, it's also important that we follow through in the process, because there's also what we call project management. We also do what we call quality control. These things are important. And then, of course, in quality control, you need to be sure that what the designer, structural engineer has put, has recommended. And then results made available by the engineers. Because as we speak, you understand that the state government has actually set up a committee. Also, the Council for Regulation Engineering have also set up a committee. Our association, Acen, have also set up a committee. But for us in the built environment, particularly engineering, at the end of the day, we are going to collect all these reports that will come out of the investigation, and they will come up with a report that will reflect exactly what has happened. Until then, no one can actually say what has happened as far as that is the tall building or the 21st story building that collapsed in Lagos is concerned. So for now, nobody can give you a clear answer until we do an investigation. But I like while it is going on, I would also like Engineer Um, yes, I'd like to say just a minute.
Thank you, President. Thanks for the question. Let me try and simplify it. Um, there are technical reasons why a building will collapse, technical engineering reasons why a building will collapse. There are administrative reasons and there are procedural reasons. I'm going to restrict myself to the technical reasons. A building will collapse if the design is faulty. There's a design error. A building will collapse if the construction is faulty. There is a construction error. If the collapse is from design, then the consulting engineer is the one who is liable if it is a design error. We don't know whether there's a design error as we talk. When there's a construction error, then it's the contractor. Whether it's the steel, whether it is poor cement, it just doesn't matter. The contractor has responsibility to make sure that the building is safe and that it's competent. So when a building that is properly designed collapses, it's the contractor that is liable. Those are the technical reasons. What are the procedural reasons that can lead to this technical problem? If you have a quack as the designer, then the design will be faulty, period. But that's a consequence. If you have a quack as a contractor, then the construction will be faulty, period. That is the procedural reason. In other words, you have put the wrong people in charge of the project. The third one is the administrative. If a building is designed for 15 stories and you build 20, then it will collapse. Again, it's clear. Like my president said, until we know whether it is a design error, a construction error, wrong consultant, wrong contractor, wrong number of building, we don't know. But we know how to look. And we think that it is the engineer you should get to look so that they can tell you where the problem is. Thank you, Mr. President.
One more. On the second question, whether we have enough consulting engineers, in my presentation, I made very clear that if we have to look at comparing our country with other countries within even the African continent, we can say that we don't have enough consulting firms. I had stated earlier that making a comparison with what we have in our country with respect to South Africa, where you have a population of about 60 million people, and then you have over 600 consulting firms. And our nation, where we have over 200 million people, and we just have about 400. So if you have to extrapolate based on our population, we should be looking at not less than 1 million. 1,000 consulting firms, because 400 is not just enough for our nation. We need to have more, and the only way we can have more is when we are engaged by our government, by our people, and then when we change our attitude to make sure that when we get engaged in projects, we have to consult engineers, and the more we change our attitude in consulting firms, the more consulting engineers will want to reach there and become consultants. Yes, please.
Hello? Hello?
Maybe you could hear. Can you put on that?
Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
My name is Festus Oseji. I work with CED Magazine, Construction and Engineering Digest Magazine. I want to congratulate Acen for the Golden Jubilee. And also want to thank all my fathers that are seated up there now. The engineer Akida Yomi, the sitting president. Madam, I want to thank you. And sir, I congratulate you. We have done so well, bringing us today. I have one or two questions I want to ask. And one of the questions says, one, collaboration. This has always been a challenge to the built environment professionals, most especially the consultants in Nigeria. And Acen members has over time faced or facing the same challenge as we speak. Sir, what's your take on this? Because this issue, I want a situation whereby we use this platform to let there be a voice on this. Because over time I've come across many professionals in different areas. They keep on saying the same thing, that collaboration has always been a challenge. My second question is, consulting engineers are the thinkers when it comes to infrastructural development in any country all over the world. What can you say in regards with Nigeria consultant or Nigeria situation? Because no country of the input of the consultants. So which I believe this should be one of the things that we should use this opportunity also to lay a voice on. And can we say that your members are really enjoying all the opportunities that Nigeria as we speak, because Nigeria is a developing country? Last question. How has it been your relationship, Acen relationship with FIDIC? Now that you are celebrating 50 years anniversary.
Um,
First question, what was it?
I think if I get you right, and Mr. Oseji of CED magazine, yeah, if I get you right, the first question is on collaboration. Am I correct? Your first question is on collaboration. Yeah, collaboration between engineers. Yes. Thank you very much on that very question. It's important that actually consulting engineers should learn to collaborate. What we have seen is that we have been advocating for consulting firms to come together. Perhaps one of the challenges we have, you have firms that are into consulting. And in those firms, you have residue of professional different disciplines. And so we have a situation perhaps in our country where you have firms that have professionals of perhaps 1, 2, or 3, or 4 years. And that is actually not helping much, especially when it comes to competition. So for us to be able to compete effectively, especially when there are mega projects, because there are mega projects, for instance, if you're going to do things like a rail line or an airport, you need to have a team that is very robust. So very important, and that is why in Acen we want to set up a consortium, platform where we can bring consulting firms together to pursue a project or collaborate to deliver on perhaps some of these mega projects. So the point is it's important that we need to look in this direction. And Acen is mindful of this, and that's why we are looking at having a constituent committee is already working in Acen, to see how we could collaborate to pursue those mega projects. That's question on that. On the second question, if I remember very well, um, what was your last second question again?
Infrastructural development in any country all over the world. What can you say in regards to Nigeria? Can we say that
Okay, thank you very much for. I think I had mentioned that in course of my presentation. I said that we are not adequately patronized by government and the people of this nation, and the reasons I don't really understand, because I know that government ministries and departments are supposed to, when budgets have been approved and then the projects have been identified, before you can before you even go to the level of approving projects, you need to consult consultant engineers who should be able to help you even in preparing budgets, to know what are the projects that you need to do, what is the cost of the project, and then of course follow through that when these projects are ready for implementation. There's the consultant engineers who have the residue of knowledge to tell you what you need to do and the cost implication and how this job will be done properly. You need to ensure that they are also carried along in the execution of that project. And that way it's important, because what is going on is that rather than reach out to consultant engineers, what we are doing is that we are cutting corners and perhaps encouraging quackery in our country, and this should not be. So, in essence, we are not being patronized adequately, and we are saying that Nigerian government and her people should encourage consulting engineering. Last question you have.
you are celebrating your professional bodies all over the world?
Thank you very much. Perhaps when I started my speech, maybe you were not here, I took time to explain our national and international relationships. And I did mention that Acen plays a very prominent role in the international organization FIDIC, Federation of Consultant Engineers, and we attend all our conferences. And as a matter of fact, I did mention here that our past president, the 6th president of our association, Dr. Folayon, was a member of the executive committee. The 12th president of our association, Engineer Bayo Odiola, was also a member of the executive committee. And if I'm not mistaken, Engineer Bayo Odiola is still serving in FIDIC committees up to today. As a matter of fact, I think credentialing, you remember that committee, right? Yes, that's correct. So you can see that Nigerians are playing a very prominent role as far as both at the international level and at the regional level, including the FIDIC Africa. And of course, you try to know that the sitting president of Acen is also an executive member of FIDIC Africa and serves as the honorary treasurer of that station. Yes.
No, not you. You please. Your yeah, most of them. And in particular, I want to talk about the reinforcements, what you call bars. That is for a 12 bar, they give you 10 or 10 and a half or less. And then what we call the yield stress. That is the capacity that of the reinforcement of the bar. You will find that it gets compromised, reduced. It is an uphill task to try to work with the materials that we have in this country. The water is not up to standard. The reinforcement is not up to standard. Wet cements are not up to standard. So what do? You as a designer, you are believing that you are using these things with their optimum strengths, and you now design using those values. At the end of the day, you find that it's not good enough. They are not good enough. What we say, this is, we say maybe 300 something for the yield strength. By the time you take it to the lab to test, it's much more below that. So those are some problems. And I always wonder why Sun cannot be very strict on these factories, these manufacturers. You can go close those companies down. If you do that 1-2 places and they lose quite a bit of money, then they will sit up. It's not good to say, oh, we are trying. We are trying. It's not so. People, you go, they give you. Except must we be running around with caliper to measure everything before and take it to the lab every second? Can you test? This is a big challenge that I think the government, Sun is a creation of the government. They need to sit up. They need to make sure that standards are being met. It's not good enough to say, oh, we are trying. I'm sorry, that's not our job to be doing. It's the government's job to do. So I'm sorry, that I think is a very big challenge.
Okay, the lady. Okay, there's a lady here. Okay, sorry, this lady here, please. Yeah. No other mic. Name is what?
Can you give us volume, please?
Yes. All right. Thank you, Becca, for your questions. The special interest group you asked, right? The essence of that grouping is to bring professionals of the same discipline together to look at various areas of their engineering practice. Of course, we look at electricity, water supply, road transportation, for instance. So these interest groups, they come together and look at what are the challenges that we have in the area of, for instance, road transportation. And then look at the areas of electricity and water supply. It could be design of dams and what have you. So what they do is they look at what is happening, at the national level, and then perhaps collect information from various states and to know what are the challenges, and then they bring it together, and then they brainstorm on some of these challenges and provide solutions, and then they make a report to Acen, and then of course if these are the outcomes of some of the when we organize our EGMs and AGMs, we take topical issues and discuss it at those level, is to let the government know that these are some of the challenges and these are solutions. And usually in such programs that we organize, could be our extraordinary meeting or our national meeting or our business evenings, and other, gatherings. We bring these issues to bear to the public, to educate the public on the challenges and provide solutions. And that's why it's important that when Acen organizes, for instance, on Wednesday this month, that will be on the 10th, we are going to have our AGM, where we're going to have a conference. We're going to discuss on we're going to talk about, for instance, we're going to talk about climate change and then renewable energy, for instance. The world is talking about renewable energy. The world is talking about climate change, for instance. And there are, there are people who have experienced these areas. And then as we discuss, we are just helping government to give a direction. I'm sure you know that there's a conference going up recently in Glasgow, the COP26, and they're talking about climate change. So if we cannot be isolated from what is happening globally. And so, this interest group will come and bring, the information they have and be able to bear on our people. So that's the essence of that interest group. And then you talk about patronage. Yes, we have said so. We are not adequately patronized. In fact, I think even using adequate, we are not properly patronized, if I want to use that word. So we are saying that the government of this country and our people should patronize consultants. And it's so bad that even in ministries, departments, and agencies of government, where ordinarily we expect that they should do the needful and hire consultants to advise them on how to engage in their projects. But sometimes they don't do so. I'll be sorry to tell you that some state government don't even encourage consultants. So how can you, embark on a major project without having somebody who has the requisite knowledge to give you advice ab initio, and then of course to follow through with the project? And you've heard what we said here. The problems that we may face is either the design problems or the construction problem, or it could be the management problem as well. So you need consultants who at every stage of the project should be there to guide you to ensure that the money you are investing, as a matter of fact, one is important, value for money. Sometimes we avoid consultants thinking we're saving money, but we are losing money by not even engaging consultants. If you engage a consultant on the project, perhaps if you are putting money in the project and it collapses or fails, you lose your money. But it just doesn't cost you much to just get a consultant from the beginning who will give you advice and ensure that at the end of the day, you just pay that small money, but you get high value for the project at the end of the day. So patronage, we are saying that we need enough patronage from government and for our people. It's so sad today that the presence of a man on the white skin is the stamp of authority or of quality. Why should it be? And sometimes this is pushing most people to just go and get people who are from these Asian countries and come around. Some of them are even not qualified engineers, they're not even trained engineers. But just because they have white skin and you see them on site, you say, oh, this contractor or consultant, perhaps he must have been very qualified. Who says so? Meanwhile, the Nigerian engineer who is qualified, more than qualified, will be the one following somebody who probably is just a technician. This has to stop. We must encourage our people. We have qualified people, and if you want to verify whether our engineers have the training and competence, we have a regulation in this country. You must be a registered engineer. You must be registered with Acen. If you're not registered with Koren as a registered engineer, and you're not registered as a firm that you want to go into practice, and you're not registered with Koren, because by law, Acen is a member of Koren. And so you cannot even say you want to go into consulting without being a registered consultant. And if you do so, then you are violating the law of the practice of engineering in our country.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hemu, for those questions. The first question bordering on the formation of Acen. In my speech, I said that Acen was formed in a meeting, first meeting on the 7th of August 1971. In the same year, there was another meeting on the 9th of October. That is when they met and agreed that they want to form an association. But in the process of forming an association, there will be a time for registration. When they met, they agreed to form an association, and they keep meeting until when they start the process of applying for registration. And I believe that by 1972, they applied. They were in the process from 1971, and then by 1972, they applied. Maybe at that point of application is probably what you have seen in the website. But it's interesting to note that the full registration was actually granted in 1979. So it's a process. And so we are celebrating the thinking out of these great men who decided that today we've seen what is happening globally, and we need to also form an association of, then of course, of consulting engineering. And so we're celebrating that gathering of the 12 great engineers who came together, and that process we started having the presidents all the way from then till today. So in answer, it's a simple thing. It's a process. We formation, registration process, and final approval of registration. Talking about quackery, we are very worried. We are very concerned. Why do I have to go to university to study engineering? Why should I also engage in continuing professional development of skill and reskill myself, and my team, only to get to the point when I have prepared myself to render appropriate consulting services. And somebody who perhaps, because it's strange in our nation, perhaps where somebody who has not gone forward to the university, and I have a case where I was doing a consulting service for the oil and gas company, and someone who is from the community area says that he also wants to be a consultant. And he was asked what he's going to do. He said he's going to hire people to work for him. How do you hire somebody to work for you when you cannot supervise the person working for you? Okay, you didn't study engineering, but you set up a consulting firm. And the people you have hired are the people who are going to train, who are the people you are going to supervise to deliver on the project. I tell you, for instance, I had an experience as a young person. It may be just a digression. When I graduated, I was invited by a firm to lead electronics engineers in a firm that is supposed to be a computer firm. And I studied civil engineering. I was offered a good salary. But I told them, no, I can never be. I told the woman, I don't want to be a round peg in a square hole. How will I lead consulting engineer? Perhaps today maybe I would have been probably would have maybe learned all that. But I told myself, no, I'm not qualified to lead, those who know better than I do. I need to be into my profession, civil engineering. So the problem we have is that we have people who claim to do what they don't know what to do. And that must stop. That must stop. So, what is Acen doing about it? We keep advocating. We keep telling the Nigerian people. And this press conference is also aimed at to let the public know that they need to consult professionals who have what it takes to deliver on projects so that we don't keep having failures. And quackery should be stamped away from our country. And the only way to do it is me and you ensuring that we don't support or encourage those who don't have what it takes to do the right thing. As a matter of fact, today, I don't know whether it's anybody who wants to go to a hospital and you're sick and you want to get healed. Rather than going to a doctor, you go to a carpenter, for God's sake. What will he do for you? Or if you have a case in the court, or you have a case that needs somebody to defend you in a court, you will go and consult a doctor. What will he speak on your behalf? Nothing. And then you want to build a building, you want to do a road, you want to do a seaport and airport, then you say, oh, my friend is a doctor. You should come and take up the job of consulting for a super highway, or to consult for a seaport or an airport. Then you have compromised. Starting from that point, that's when quackery start coming in. Because giving the job to the wrong person will also hire the wrong person, and the wrong person will hire the wrong person, and the process, everything becomes quackery. The only way is consult Acen. Why? Because Acen, not only that we are trained professionals in our own various disciplines, but that we keep updating ourselves regularly based on our continuing professional development. Our trainings, our workshops, our seminars, our conferences are geared towards improving the quality of the services we render to this country.
Thank you.
I think Charles will second.
Thank you very much. My name is Engineer Charles Akindayomi, past president of Acen. I just want to chip in about this issue, corruption. The specifications and standards that our engineers are using are the same specifications they are using abroad. There's nothing wrong with it. When we talk about quackery and so on, it's the same Nigerians who are actually engaging the quacks to do the work. So corruption is endemic. So it's not in engineering, it's in the entire society. Sometimes I hear the government do not have the political will to do what needs to be done. In this our society, we all know there's no consequences to our action. Everybody gets away doing something wrong. The next thing you know is that they have some people at the high places who can get them out of the trouble in which they are. Our problem starts with all of us. Corruption, they say, stamped out. And we keep on advocating for it, but we are all involved. It's an endemic behavior in our society. Nobody chooses a quack to do a 21-story building or any building. It's the same Nigerians. And what is one of our problems is that we always think we are smart. I'm not saying intelligent, smart. We want to have our cake and eat it. And that same attitude, we have it here. Nigeria carry it from here, go abroad, and do the same thing. When is it going to stop? Nobody knows. But it's going to get so bad to such a stage that people will then realize that if somebody do something faulty, take him to the court, jail the person. By the time you have 2 or 3 people being jailed for the actions of which they have done, then people will start sitting up. If you don't do that and there's no political will, we continue repeating the same thing we've been repeating over the years, over and over. So please do not isolate engineers. Engineers are doing their best. They do the things that Europeans are doing. They have the same standards. Don't forget, the standards we are using in this country is not the standard we generated here. It is standard that was brought here. We learned, they've done a lot of research on it. Right? Can you imagine if a building like that collapses in UK and people will not be jailed? They'll be jailed. But over here, we'll never get the true answer. So what we can just advocate is we continue, get the right people to do the right work. Get the proper engineers to do it. People who wants to make sure their investment lasts and they derive return from that investment, know what to do, not cutting corners and trying to be smart. That's my view. Thank you. Engineer Charles Akindayomi.
Do we have more questions, please? Oh, okay. Um, I just wanted to make a comment. It's only in Nigeria that everybody is a builder. Only in Nigeria that everybody believes he or she can build anything, including a 21st story building.
Thank you, my president. I think the immediate past president has more or less said the area I would have wanted to touch, which is integrity, and which is what I think you men of the press can also help a lot about. I am an engineer by the grace of God, like you and everybody trying to have a roof over his head rather than being a tenant. This is some years back. Specification and what happened. Integrity. Yes, we have the national standard, we have specification. I visited the site and I understood, by level of education, you require reinforcement. They said it would be 12 to make a ton, or 10. Those of you and I got to the site, I counted, and it was 8. How did you get this? To cut the long story short, the guys who were selling it said, please return it. We know who you are, big man and nothing, but this is the way I also bought it. Okay, and then we went into the person who brought the thing in, and he said, look, Naira to the dollar is now this. Okay, And it is, yes, 11 or 12 of this number of bars to make a ton. But because of because and because. And some of us do not like to talk. We just wish you well because the former Minister of Health, Kuti, exposed integrity of Nigeria. And one of my juniors in secondary school, who is a pharmacist, also told me this, went to India. Antibiotics that everybody does. He said he asked for 30% potency of the antibiotics. 30% because Naira then was 1 to 2 Naira and 50 or 3 Naira. And therefore, for him to be able to make money, he asked for 30% potency. Did you tell the doctors when you came back so that the ones they recommend 3 times a day should now be three times a day to heal the sickness? Then the ransom Kuti told the whole nation. Some of you might not know because we have been in it. And those of you who have candles and you light it on top of the hill, if that would be the one to save the country, maybe. Those of you that go to the vigil, maybe. They were selling these same antibiotics, and when Minister of Health opened it, there was face powder that the pharmacists imported to this country and bring it. In engineering, I don't know how to remote. This morning I'm reading in this thing you said, they are using bamboo as a, somebody say yes? You saw that too? Bamboo as a reinforcement. And then later on we come and say engineering, integrity. Please, President and everybody, Nigerians, we are killing ourselves because we want money and we lack at all costs and no integrity. Thank you for giving me an opportunity. Thank you. My name, Joseph Ibikunle Folayan, a past president. Thank you.
Okay, I've just been asked to make my final remarks. Just to thank you all for coming and to make one or two elaboration on one or two comments. Somebody asked whether we have enough consulting engineers, and there are two sides to the question. Virtually all state governments say they are not using consulting engineers. Virtually all state governments say they are not using consulting engineers. So if you go to state capitals, you hardly find consulting engineers there. There are 36 states in the country. If you take Lagos out, and you take Abuja out, maybe Port Harcourt, and a few of the older states, you find that the others don't use consultants at all. So we ask ourselves, why do buildings collapse? Why are drainages not straight? Why are wells not? Because there are not being, no consultants involved. Sometimes the people in the ministry want to do it themselves. Sometimes party loyalists want patronage. So for the potential that we have, we don't have enough consultants. But even the few we have don't even have enough patronage. So it's a catch-22. In one breath, you don't have enough. In another breath, the ones that you have don't have work. So basically, it is a very deep problem that we have. When state governments will have policies of not using consultants, and they are doing engineering works, it is just an anomaly. That's the only comment I'd like to make at this point, because we can be here for a week and we'll still have problems. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Um, we've come to the end of this, but before we say our final thank you, I'd like to introduce some of our members who are seated behind us. We have the Managing Director of Acen, Engineer Kalechai. They can't see your face. Can you move a little bit forward? You are not that tall. Engineer Kalechai, that's the master of the house. And next to him is a member of the Golden Jubilee Committee, Engineer Dr. Mbelede. And I also have Engineer Mbim. He is also the MD of one of the biggest and maybe foremost consulting, indigenous consulting firm, Ete, Arrow and Partners. They have trained many, many, many engineers who have gone out to set up their own firms as well. On this note, okay, the president wants to do.
Thank you very much, past presidents who have come to honor this great invitation of the Golden Jubilee celebration of our session. Gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen of the press, it's important for us to note that as part of this celebration, we will be honoring our past presidents, especially on Wednesday evening, where we will give them special award for the role they have played in, first of all, sustaining this association to this day that we're celebrating the 50th anniversary. So the past president will be honored. We also honor founding members who were not able to become president of our station. We will also honor some companies that have been very supportive to Acen in growing the association up to the date. And we also like to appreciate some distinguished Nigerians who have been there for us. So as part of this celebration of the 50th Golden Jubilee, we will honor the great engineers and the great Nigerians who have been there for us. And once more, thank you for coming, and you have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. And you are invited to the dinner award night, which will be at the Sheraton on Wednesday. Starts at 6 so that we can finish early for people to leave early too. Thank you so very much. Bye.